Okay, hello everybody. We're gonna do a little silly intro again. I'm gonna get a good intro one of these days, but for now, we get the AI funny ones.
Tariffs are back and they're huge, believe me! Whoa! The coins are revolting! My portfolio, it's crashing! This tremendous, it's a disaster!
Okay. There you go. Hello, Ucha. Wow, you always are on pretty fast. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay today. I I I noticed last stream that you couldn't hear me that well, so I increased the gain as much as I could, but it could have been better for sure. Um, hello Zig, hello Zerkella. Okay, so I'm not gonna go too long tonight. I've been coding like crazy, absolute craziness. I've got so much stuff, 15 hours a day of coding. I wish I could show you some of it. I will, you know what? I will show a little bit later. Oh, look at natural gas. It really fell off. I'm surprised by that. We were way up here. I thought we would take off today. I've been coding so much I haven't been able to trade at all. But I do want to show you guys some things that I was working on. So let me see if I can load up. I'm gonna launch two different things, and then I'll show you. Hello, Lori. But right now, okay. So the big thing, right, is S&P. And that's probably why a bunch of you guys are here. Probably going to get a lot of people, even if I'm only going to talk for like 30 minutes. I've been posting about this. I've been talking about this. Like, this is not a healthy looking market, okay? It's not. Normally I look at S&P, right? So weekly. This is about to break down. MACD has been negative for a while. I'm amazed that we're still holding up here. I really am. Because I've been shouting about this and saying, hey, I'm 80% cash, I'm 80% cash, I'm 80% cash. Like a broken record since basically November, December, one of those time periods. And everything's just been oscillating. And look what Tesla just did. This was a massive, massive uptrend. Okay, and it just broke down on a daily chart. That's a big deal. I don't see this necessarily recovering. I think tariffs could be an excuse to kind of dump everything, and that's what it looks like. I know I sound like a broken record. I said that here, I said that here, and we just keep recovering. It's possible that we'll recover from this one also, but I'm just pointing out what the higher time frame says, and the higher time frame says, well, the market looks like crap. Okay, that's where we're at. And I think it's there's a time to make money, and then there's a time to keep your money, right? So this is one of those times. This is a time when, you know, if you want to take a trade, take a day trade. Like this would have been great from a lower time frame. Okay, if I wasn't working on TRI stuff, this was a very obvious trade here, right? So you would have, how would you have traded this on a daily time frame? So you would have watched this, you would have seen this candle take off, you would have seen how it waited for the 15-minute to close. Okay, if it closed up here, you would have longed it, right? But because we reversed, that's an obvious, as soon as it closed down here, you short here. And then you had your divergence, you had your MACD divergence, everything was there, and then you just write it down. And that's it, and you're probably still in the trade now. You could have exited, right? Because you could have drawn, said this is your high. So if you wanted to trade this on a tighter, and this is your low, 88.6. But as I said, I think we're going lower than this. I think it's going to be worse. But that was your trade. That was your opening range trade. If you want to trade like day trade. I think most of you watching are not day traders, so I try to stick to like weekly time frame, stuff like that, because I think it's more relevant for people watching. You can go back the past 2-3 months of videos and also the Discord and see how I've been talking about over and over We are not in a bullish environment. At best, we're going to range. And that's exactly what has been happening since basically October. Let me see if my... Nope, it's not working yet. I'm launching a little dev server. So I've been spending all this time working on things that I have been wanted for years. Okay, I've wanted these tools, and I just couldn't get anyone to build them for me. And now, with how AI is, finally I can take what's in my brain and download it and make tools. I made a couple TradingView tools. I don't really like them. I don't think they're the best. So I focused on other tools, which we will host on the TRI site soon, probably in the next 2 weeks, next 1 to 2 weeks. We'll see. We'll see if I can keep working 60 hours to 80 hours a week. No breaks, no weekends off. And I'm just waiting for it to load, and I can show you it, but it's taking a while. Let me see one thing. Let me see. Are you guys in anything right now? Are you trading anything? I would seriously be very cautious if you're taking any trades. It's just it's dangerous right now. Okay, let's see here. Live stream. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so you can see that major breakdown. Daily, the daily is a mess, but it's definitely still negative. So how I would kind of play this, like I said last week, if you saw a break above this, you could consider longs, but do you see how that was a fake out? Like fake out reversal. Love how that they do that. So sometimes a daily chart is better, you know, because you can't, even on a daily they do fake outs, but this, you can see there's really no fake out here, and you want to wait until at least we close above this RSI downtrend line to really get bullish on anything. Until then, you can short or you can stay flat. I think it's safer to stay flat than shorting, but if you want to short, it's fine. Why is it so difficult to get this dev server going? Sorry guys. That's the S&P. You know, I pointed out Tesla broke down, so that's probably going to happen. You're going to move. It's going to move pretty fast to these lows, maybe even lower. In this downtrend line, your level right here is 370. That's going to be a major support zone right there. So here, like this, 370. I could expect. I mean, I could see Tesla going there very, 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 very fast. I'm actually going to close something that I had because I don't want to get rubbed. Yeah, I wanted to show you what I did. I was super excited. So, okay, so that's a breakdown, right? And if we look at the, there could be some divergence here, right here, but I don't like how this looks on a daily chart with that gap and breakdown. Let me see if 1 hour. It just doesn't look good. I can't recommend any longs. This looks like a serious breakdown, and it could rapidly fall lower. Let's see something here. Yeah, I don't see anything making me want to feel bullish on this. You can see how the weekly's been negative for quite a while. We do have a TD9, which is interesting. It doesn't always work. You could get that dump, and then the next week it bounces. So that is interesting. You see, like here, you had your TD9, and then it went further before finally reversing. So I mean, it could easily do something like that. You see, you had it here, but most of the time it does reverse. Back here. So this one didn't really work. You got a short-term reversal, and that was it. Here you had your reversal. Most of the time it does work. So that is something to pay attention to. But I'm not a fan of how the market looks right now. And this, I don't like these kind of breakdowns. So it's just something to keep in mind. Why does this not want to start my dev server? Okay, I'm just talking to my little AI program why it's not running. Checking the server logs. Okay. What other stocks do I want to talk about? Well, silver. So I want to talk about one I was looking at that I liked was Tempest AI, but it hit a 7 on the 4-hour and had a reversal. But I did think it looked decent on a daily chart. Like this. You had like sort of the start of a breakout, but it might have been a fake out and we'll just head lower. But it is kind of in an uptrend. The problem is when the S&P looks like this, really there's nothing good. Hello, Hector. There's just nothing good. And that's the biggest issue, I would say. Localhost 513. Oh, it worked. It worked. I don't think it's actively updating, but it did work. Okay, let me see. Oh, very exciting. It's not actually actively updating, but it is. Yeah, cool. Okay. Hello, Hector. Okay, so in the midst of a breakdown, where do we go? Right, I've talked about this a couple times. I mean, the first stop is here. 61, 64. That's where you'd likely dump to, right here. Yeah, I know, Sarah Kelly, you're super interested in that. So okay. So here's the first tool, by the way. I got it loaded. So this I spent a lot of time making, and I genuinely think it works. You can see like it's supposed to be updating with the data, but it says outdated to, I had it updating on Friday, 2/21. So it's outdated, and it says that right there. And it will show you the daily flow forecast, which you can see on things like unusual whales and stuff like that. But the difference is, I think those platforms are very hard to understand. They are difficult to understand. So what I did is I tried to use essentially some algos to try to, and based on things that I know work and I've used in the past, I've tried to make it like a daily forecast where, so the first thing you wonder when you're looking at a market is, well, what if you're trading on a lower time frame, what is today going to look like? And you can see, by the way, you can look at it on your phone. So that's what it might look like on like a smaller screen, but you can inspect it and you can see like if we had like an iPhone, right? So I've got to update this a little bit. It's not perfect, right? But it's not bad. But definitely I can improve it. It looks better on certain things. But it's not production ready, right? I'm almost there. So iPad Pro is something like that. Anyway, you guys can look at the full screen. So on the right, you have your gamma exposure, which you can see anywhere else, and that provides you kind of levels. But the important thing is that this is kind of all they normally show you. However, the question is, well, what does this mean? Well, this is where we make it simple over here, where the system puts key levels. Okay, support is here, flip zone is here, and resistance is here. So meaning if price goes up to 7,000, it's going to probably reject. If price goes down to 68.90, it's probably going to be support. Keep in mind, this is old data from Friday. This is not current. I didn't have a chance to get that working. And then you can see it for the 3 different major indexes, IWM, NDX, and SPX. It works best on STS and NDX. Those are the 2 I would focus on. And then we look at IV assessment, which is how expensive are options. And that also tells you like what kind of direction the market might go in and what kind of trade you should take. And the system uses a bunch of calculations to then determine what would be the best trade. And it gives you two trades normally, a recommended trade and a lotto play. So here, actually none of these have recommended trades because the IV was poor. But if it should give you one when it's expensive, so I have to update that. But like, for example, if IV is expensive, you would know that you should sell something for a credit. And then if it's fair, you maybe have no edge. So, or you could, because it's expensive, you could just trade futures, right? If you didn't want to sell something for credit, you could just trade futures. That's another thing that it might suggest to you. And then it also suggests entry timings and periods to avoid. So you don't want to be in during these because there might be erratic moves, bond auction window, right? So those are times when you get screwed. And this is like entry timing. So lotto, you might want to enter between 10 and 11 because that's when you could catch the biggest move. You get a warning about it potentially being unstable. Chop day means range day, essentially, but it's a bit harder to trade. It's basically just chop or range. Those are your two. So you get that biased, and then this tells you if dealers are short gamma or not, and it seems like they're leaning more short. That's because of this big bar down here, and that creates the more erratic price movement, which will accelerate in one direction or the other. And you can see it's all kind of explained here. So it says chop zone from flip, no directional conviction, sit out or use futures, wait for a cream break above or below the flip zone. So here's your flip zone, and then it says tight stops, and then you take it once it's on one side or the other. Flip zone, obviously you apply your lower time frame plan to this, but it should help you understand what the market's going to be like on that day. Now, I want this to update like every hour. I don't know if we're going to be able to get the data to update every hour. It's pretty expensive. So we'll see about that. But this is like one of the tools. You can see you can expand the chart also. So you have that, and you can just see it in a small, and you can see the chart here. But you can't move the chart or anything, so I don't think it matters. You just look at it quickly here. Some people like to see the levels to give support and resistance, but really the support and resistance is here. And you can see that like all the levels here, resistance 2, resistance 3, magnet level support. Same on the SPX, 2, 3. It should be in the reverse order, actually. It should be resistance, resistance 2, resistance 3. So I've got to fix that. You see the support is right. Support 2, support 3. And then the magnet level, which is where like the market's going to be drawn to this area. But if you flip it on either side, it could accelerate because of that negative GEX environment. But you can see the system is low confidence. So just from presenting this, I can see a couple things I can improve. But this is something where you would use this if you're day trading. This helps a lot. Okay, this in my opinion, this is better than if you went to the 15-minute and you tried to trade off this. Like this works, right? And this is great. But there's certain information you're kind of missing here that helps enhance all of this. So that's one tool I've worked on, and I spent probably like 12 hours so far on this, maybe 20 hours. And I can already see a few things I want to improve, but once I do, and we get the data going, this one can go live, and I think it'll provide a lot of value to you guys. So that's one of them. I've got another one with the new website that maybe I can show quickly. I don't know if I want to show it, but I'll do it quickly. All right, so there's TEM. What other stocks do I have to look at? Really, there's not a lot. I just don't like the market right now. I don't want to be in any kind of trades. So I don't have much to recommend, unfortunately. I just don't. We do have silver, right? bounced, and I think gold is also bouncing. So MACD is about to cross positive. Here you had your RSI confirmed basically yesterday on this bar. So you would be buying here. If you want to be bullish on silver, you'd be buying here. You can see it's in a major uptrend. And we could go, like if this was the range, right? So that's kind of your range. 127 would be my target. So I like silver here. I think it can do well. I don't like that you have a TD9. I'd like to have seen some kind of pullback, but because we're back in this trend line, I'm not long yet. I'm gonna wait and see what happens at this 1.618 level, and then if we can breach above here, I'll probably get long at least up to like 100 quick move. So that's you and gold. How does gold look? Gold's basically the same, right? So you have this range, and you probably target up to 6K. That's what I'm thinking. We got to see where it stops with that 1 point. Wherever the first rejection point is, that's going to determine this, which is then going to determine our 2.618 and our final 4.669 upside targets. So I want to see what happens there. If you're not long already, I would wait a bit, see if you get that rejection, and then consider an entry down here. You should get some kind of 4-hour breakdown. Like the 4 hour should break down. If it does, it breaks down, and then on the way up that's when you enter, which should be somewhere around there. So that's silver. Sorry, gold. Yeah, look, see the S&P keeps dropping. It's not good. This is not absolutely not good. This could be your, by the way, this could be your like short-term range here. Could flip it like that. Okay. And then you target, at least in the short term, 6,700, then 66, then 65.60. So those are kind of your levels. 68.20 is going to be a resistance here today, but I think we'll keep pushing through it, and it'll eventually get down here. I'm going to actually set an alert to see if we break these lows. Really not much more to say. I mean, I'll talk about Bitcoin and crypto, but I'm 80% cash. I just don't see anything great with the market here. I mean, if you want to short, you can short, but the problem is you're fighting a system that wants to go up and a government that wants to go up. Now, crypto, we've talked about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin had a brief bounce here with the 4 hour, and now we're rolling over again. So the question is why are we rolling over? Well, the 12 hour failed, and we're in a downtrend still, right? So we broke down from this bear flag, as I talked about many times. Now we're basically in this downtrend, and this you did have a positive MACD, but this weekly is so bad that there's just nothing yet. If you want to be conservative, you just don't touch crypto until this weekly trend line reverses, right? Until this is the weeklies on the other side of this RSI trend line. You really shouldn't long anything crypto, and that's why we only have 11 people watching. I don't expect to have a lot of people watching, because right now we're not in a fun make money environment. It's just not. It's bad, actually. So yeah, the next thing, I guess the only other thing I have to talk about is because this is down, right? What can I say? We bounced from that major support. I mean, where else can you go here? That's kind of your recent range. And if we flip it, that's wrong, right? Yeah. So we already went through that 38.2, right? And your next one is 61.8, and then you've got 78.6. 78.6 at 39K is a real possibility. You might even want to wait until the fall, TSS. Honestly, you might want to just wait till the fall. That's the beginning of the 4-year reset of the cycle again. I ran some tests. Let me see if the local host is working now. No comment on the gamma scoring, so I guess not that much interest in that. If you guys have any questions about this, you can ask me, by the way. That's my one app. So 57,000 for Bitcoin, and then also 39. We do have the weekly at the 200-day moving average, which has provided a decent support, but what you have to keep in mind is back, like for example, I think that's the 50. Where's the 200 week? I gotta go to, I think it's the 200 day. No, it's the 200 week. I want to go to BTC. I want to go to Bitstamp, which has been around forever. Yeah, this is what I want. Weekly chart. Yeah, so here's the 200 week moving average. We've never gone, price has never gone more than 33% below that. So if that's here, then the lowest is about 40K. That's the low. Like if you're holding Bitcoin and you're worried, that's kind of the low. So that's what I'm looking at as a potential, but I'm really just not taking any longs. Okay, I know there's a bit of a divergence here, but I don't like that the S&P is kind of on the edge of a cliff. The weekly chart looks terrible, and yeah, I just don't think this is a great environment to be longing, and I don't know how much crypto is going to front run TradeFi, like traditional finance. When I say TradeFi, I mean traditional finance. I don't know how much crypto is going to front run that. I think that if this goes down, it'll probably pull Bitcoin down as we've seen here. Like today, it's dumping and Bitcoin's heading down with it. It doesn't matter how bullish the MACD was. I mean, this 4-hour could bounce, right? And you could get a bit of a trade, but you're just fighting a downtrend. Which brings me to the next tool that I've been working on. I got the website to work. I'm not going to show you the tool directly. There is really not much of a tool to show, but I ran tons of tests, okay? So you guys also know how I've been, we have scanners at TRI. Oh, I don't want to show you that just yet. We have scanners at TRI, right? But those were old scanners that don't really have, I don't use them that much. I know there's some members that like to use them, but I personally don't use them that much. And I wanted to have my own scanners, but I don't trust scanners that I can't backtest. So I spent the whole weekend and today working on a bunch of scanners. And then also working on the website with all the statistics from the scanners and running some backtests with like realistic trading where you have 1 or 2% liquidity variations where you don't get the perfect price, where you've got to pay in the terms of crypto, you've got to pay funding fees, and then in terms of trading, you have to pay trading fees. There's a lot to account for, and then plus making sure that with these kind of tests, there's no overfitting or anything like that, where you train on a bit of data and then you test it on like 10 other pieces of data. So there's so many things that you have to do, and I can't go into even half of them. But basically, I found out some really interesting stuff, and this is kind of our second This is like Gen 2 TRI scanners. Now, we're not getting rid of Gen 1. You're still going to have those. But this is kind of like Gen 2. I'm going to just go to the results page. Scanners. So I made three different scanners with different levels, okay? All of these are totally different, but this is like the scanner with the S&P, for example, okay? And we can change it to start from like 2026. So you can see for the 2026 scanner, it's taken only one trade in all of 2026 because this is a long only system. And right now the system basically says the market is terrible. So I'm going to see how I can work this into like a long-term indicator to show, to kind of determine like, should I be long or should I be sitting out or should I be shorting? I haven't found a good way to do that yet because I just haven't had time. But it's something I've been looking at. But if you go to like, for example, 2025, you can see how this works. So if you were in SPY or the top, any of the top indexes or technology stocks, at the end of that year, you would be up 20% right now in February after going long in 2025 because you had that initial dip. But you can see that the system with the signals, if you just took the signals, they're not really signals. It's more, I want to call it a scanner because you can trade it any way you want. We just say, okay, these are potential buy signals, and we gave the system, I gave the system a very simple entry and exit criteria that seemed to help a lot. But in general, any trade that it took, it moved higher. Like for example, average winners were 25%. So where's like the, I think I want to show the number of trades per year. That might be good to show. But let's look at stocks, right? So the average winner is 25%, while the average loser is only 13%. So that's a 2-to-1 win most of the time. Profit factor is 2.618, win-loss 1.85, 59% win rate. Over 10 years of history here with stocks. And this is just trading straight stocks. So the stock would go up on average 25% and down 13% before you close it out. So that was with the stock scanner. And then I took it and I tested against a bunch of options. I paid some amount of money for options data, and I tested tons of different option scenarios. And you can see how in some ways the option scenario didn't even, like if we start from 2025, you can see how the option scenario ended with 15K. But if you just traded the stocks, you would have done better. You would be at 20K. So you can see how options are not, and this is the best option strategy, right? But if you make it aggressive, you can, yeah, even aggressive doesn't perform that well actually. But you can still see the average winner is 108%, while the average loser is 53. So and with a 1.77 profit factor. So that's if you want to trade options. Now, if you trade them together, it does a lot better, right? So if we do 2025, right, and you traded them together, you ended with, and I need to fix this, but you ended with 26.7, while with stocks, you ended with just 20. So it did add an extra 6K, and that's just because they compound each other. That's why. And you can use different aggressive, standard, and starter. So really that's just different sizing. So 3% per position versus 5 or 7%. Okay, 7%, you're gonna, at some points, you're going to be almost 100% long with your whole portfolio if you just follow these scanner outputs. So this is the upcoming TRI scanner that TRI is going to be forward testing and trading itself with real money and posting on the site so you can follow the portfolio. You don't have to follow it if you don't want to, and we're only calling it a scanner. I don't want to call it a signal because we don't have defined like stop losses or any kind of defined take profits. That's totally dependent on your trading plan. We use the very simple take profit on all of these. I tested everything, by the way, on the short side, and it just wasn't good enough to recommend at all. So this is more of like a long-term trading thing. And then crypto, here we get to crypto. Crypto is where it's crazy. Okay, it's absolutely crazy. With this, I basically verified there's a 4-year cycle. It's obvious. And with crypto, most of the time you're doing nothing, right? So if we go back, so there was a fun strat thing. By the way, if you see any pricing, it's not final. It's just mock-up suggestions. So here, there was a fun strat research that came out, and it said missing the 10 best days of Bitcoin each year means missing the entire year's profit. That applies to not only Bitcoin, but it also applies to essentially all of crypto. And that's where this comes in. So I scanned 400 plus tokens, only tokens with a $5 million in daily volume per day or higher. I didn't do anything lower than that because I don't want any shit coins or any survivorship bias or anything like that to mess up the results. But what it found is that we basically sit in cash 75% of the time. The system's not even in any trades. Well, it's not. It's how do I say this? It's not in trades at all. Yeah, you're in cash. So if we go back to the results here and go down to the crypto scanner, you can see how that kind of plays out, right? So it's just flat. I even excluded, so you can see here this little option, or you can include 2020, start from 2020, but I excluded it because it's so absurd. So I'll click it and show you. So if you started with $10,000 and followed this system, and again, keep in mind this includes fees and all that stuff, and we're only using coins with a 50 million market cap or higher. There's no like meme coins or shit coins in this at all. It's just like top coins, top 400 coins. It's like 450 or something like that. But if you bought and followed this since 2020, look at how ridiculous this gets. So you go from basically nothing to by the end of 2021 or mid 2021, you have 150K. Okay, and then you lose a bit because the market crashes, right? So you have to lose some. It can't be perfect, but at least while Bitcoin went to 78K and then dropped over 50%, you only dropped like 15%. And then from 2022 until basically 2023, you made almost no money, right? So 122, and then you had a few stair steps. Do you see these stair steps like 2022 a little bit? Because those are bear market rallies where things moved for like 2 weeks and the system caught it, but you would have had to been watching every day to catch this, while most of the time you probably would have been killed by just trying to trade chop where the market just goes up and down and does nothing. And then finally in 2023, you had the next move. So that was, right, a little bit more than 4 years later. And this is where you went from 150 to now you've got 450K. It's just ridiculous. And then you do nothing again for months. And then you have another big pump. And then this one was the most absurd, where you just, in like 12 days, the portfolio, you actually only doubled it, but it looks absurd because you went from 600K to 1.2 million. But more realistically, but the point of that was to show that if we go down here, 2021 and 2020 had, especially 2021, had insane returns. If you just use the moderate portfolio, which is it's not that extreme, you're still using a small percentage per trade, you would have made 1,000%. And in 2024, you would have made 500%. But the other 2 years, you would have only made 2022, 2023, you would have only made 20%. If you followed Bitcoin in 2022, you would have lost actually 64%. And then in 2025, you made 72%, with Bitcoin losing 6%. So I just think it's crazy to show, like, if you use the aggressive portfolio, 41,000%, this just shows how insane 2021 was if you traded anything besides Bitcoin. So this is how it's going to apply to crypto, and this is going to be the scanner that we're running to push out trade ideas. So you're going to get crypto trade ideas, stock trade ideas, option trade ideas, and you just decide whatever you want to take, and if it works for you. And we're just going to run our own live money portfolios with each of these, probably automatically. We'll run it on auto. But the crypto one, because the coins, so with these, it'll probably be no limit, like anyone can sign up, because the amount of money it would take to move these stocks, almost all of these are S&P 500 stocks. You can't, it would be impossible for anyone to move these with any kind of edge. So the edge shouldn't get degraded. The problem is in crypto, at 50 million, even at 50 million volume a day, it's still not that big. And if this grows too big with signups or people taking the trades, you would actually degrade the edge. So we're probably going to limit signups for the crypto scanner to maybe like 200 people, maybe only 150 people, just because we don't want to ruin this edge, because it is a real strategy. It does actually work. The aggressive strategy actually isn't even the best strategy. There's two strategies that are better, that are just too crazy that I can't. I don't feel comfortable even showing them. You guys might not even believe the numbers, so I just think I'm just not going to show them, and I'll just run some personal stuff on them and see. Maybe it fails, but the numbers are insane. So yeah, that's the big thing that I've been working on. That we're gonna launch with the new TRI site. So this scanner, the other tool I showed you, this is for if you want to day trade, and then this is if you don't want to day trade and you kind of just want to get some scanner signals and just take the signal and apply it to your trading plan, or use our general plan. But you can do whatever you want. It's just meant to give you 2 or 3 signals a week. Although sometimes, like if we go here, right? So whenever this is not moving, it's not in almost anything. So most of the time, the stock system is in a trade. You'll basically always be in or have trades with stocks. But with crypto, unfortunately, because it's just so cyclical and so extreme, you have times where you don't do anything, right? So 2025 January to April, there was literally nothing. So that's 4 months of no crypto trades being recommended. And you can see in 2024, April to November, it's like 6 months of no trades. And it's just because it's not profitable to bother trading it, especially on the long side. And you can see how Bitcoin actually lost money during that time. And it only started to go up in like November 2024, and you had the big move, right? So, and here also at the beginning of 2024, right? You started with 10K, you quickly got up to 30K, you 3x your portfolio, but the key is you didn't give back that 3x, you held on to it. Then that 3x you applied again, and you went and you had a 2.5x, and then you held on, you didn't lose it, and then you did another x, and before you know it, at the end of the year, you've got 200K. So in 2 years, you went from 10K to 200K. You did a 20x. I think it's pretty good. You can look at it in 2025. 2025 was basically nothing, right? Until you would have had to catch it just here. This was your only real bull period. But I still think it's good considering Bitcoin basically did nothing, right? You ended the year down. Even if you sold the top, you would have only made 20% if you bought at the beginning of the year, right? You only made 25%. But here, if you caught this one period, you 3x'd. Now, if you took trades here, I admit you probably would have lost money, right? If you entered here, you would have lost a little bit. Not a crazy amount. You'd have went from 30K to something. You can see the max drawdowns. So max drawdown was only 12% ever. Standard 20%. So we're on standard right now, and then aggressive's 28%. So you can see how aggressive in 2025 made 157%. Standard actually did better, I guess, because there was less drawdown. Yeah, so you had less drawdown. But if we go to like another year, so actually this similar. There are times when aggressive does better, but it seems like standard did better these two. I also have to update this with some stuff, but it's pretty crazy the differences. The big difference, by the way, between these three is just the use of like leverage. Standard uses 2x and aggressive goes to 3x leverage. We don't go beyond that level of leverage. These two use only 1x leverage. I think this one recommends 2x at certain points, but most of the time it's 1x. While this one is mostly 2x leverage, and this one is 3x. So just something to keep in mind that there is leverage used to get to these, but it never goes beyond 3x, because if you go beyond 3x, you almost guarantee that you're going to lose money. So just something to keep in mind. So I've run so many scenarios. Anything beyond 3x is basically guaranteed fail. Okay, so those are the tools. I don't know if I should have showed them to you or not, but that's what I'm working on. Hopefully you guys like them when they come out. The scanners, it's going to take a bit longer. Those are not final numbers at all, so don't, hope for that for sure or whatever. It's just to show you I'm working on it, and we're very close. So give Siori and myself another week or two. We'll definitely get the Gamma one out to you first, and then the scanner will come out after. And then I'm also working on a crypto day trading one that is unique. It's not like the Gamma, it's not like the scanner, and it's going to allow you to kind of trade futures with Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff like that if you want to day trade with futures. But I think I've kind of covered everything in terms of what I think can help people to make money trading and investing. So I think these kind of covered all of those areas in ways that, on the scanner side, you don't have to trade every day or every week. You don't even have to watch stuff that closely because they're all on daily charts. And with the day trading, if you want to day trade, then we have tools for that. So it's a work in progress. If you guys have any questions on the site, you can always ask me, and I'm happy to. And if you have any ideas, you're always welcome to send them to me if you're thinking of something. Okay, that's about it. It looks like we are definitely in some kind of bear market, and the room is dead. So Zerkello, thank you for listening, and hopefully you guys like them when they come out. But I think, considering the way the market looks, I'm gonna just head to bed. There's no trading to do for me, and I recommend most people to stay on the sidelines. You don't want to be trading this. This is not, when the market looks like this is not when you make money. This is when you try not to lose money. That's all I can say. Okay, hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and I will see you in the Discord. And if you're not a member of the Discord, consider signing up. We'll have a new website. The new website I just kind of showed you coming out soon also. All right. Have a good weekend, guys. Have a good week, guys.